Hello and welcome once again. This is Weapons Left and bringing you another audio commentary, this time a somewhat nasally one. I apologize, I am in not the best of health, but I really wanted to give you these guys these games. I'm extremely excited about the Estars Seoul StarCraft Heritage Tournament. That is a mouthful, and I'm just becoming so pro at saying it. I'm so proud of myself. But anyway, excuse me. I'm just so excited about these games. I'm so pumped. There is Savior entering the field, getting ready to take his place on stage. This game that I have for you today, it was played on July the 13th. This is Savior versus Kingdom, which is just a fantastic little game that we have going on here. And the Kingdom just directly enters the booth, completely shunning any attempt at any type of pre-game ceremony here. And Savior will make his way to the booth here. Are we going to correct this problem? Are we going to actually shake some hands? Yes. Kingdom is going to come out and give him the courtesy of actually shaking his hand, which is good times. I'm glad to see that. It was certainly not intentional, I'm sure, on Kingdom's part. I mean, the kid is retired at this point, so you would have to imagine that he's not really as confident or certain as to the procedures in these individual leagues as what these kids are doing these days before they enter the booth. But anyway, excuse me. Moving on, Kingdom is in fact retired at this point. He is an on-game net spectator, or rather a commentator. He's been taking my job, and that's perfectly understandable and perfectly acceptable. He's Kingdom. So, he can basically do whatever he wants. However, he is one of the better Protoss players that we have from this old school batch of players. Very significant in terms of the advancement of Protoss play and putting Protoss on the map. I feel as though before you had guys well, around the same time as you had guys like Nara that were really good. You had Kingdom, and he was definitely in that conversation. Savior, on the other hand, is Savior, and his play is something that's just completely legendary. I mean, there was pretty much a 2-year period between '05 and '07 where people just didn't think that he was going to be beatable. He was just killing and rolling through everyone in individual leagues, pro league, whatever. It just didn't matter who he was playing, what he was playing. Savior was just dominant. And only recently has he fallen under any type of scrutiny, or have there been talks by people about the fact that he's probably has peaked. Maybe we've seen the best of Savior already. People were very reluctant to start having those conversations because really the Maestro of Zerg was somebody that was escalating to almost boxer-like levels of dominance in the Korean StarCraft scene. And so one can only imagine that he has plenty of fans that are hoping that he will in fact return to form in the individual league sometime in the very near future. In the meantime, we have him here in the Heritage League, and that is good enough for me, playing these high caliber old timers. So I am very excited about this matchup. It looks like, Kingdom, obviously, probably at a strong disadvantage here. Obviously being a retired player, just not able to put in the hours that he used to, against the competition that he used to really get to prep for something like this. Whereas you have Savior, who's been bucking up and building up his skills for the individual leagues, is still actively playing on CJ. So you'd have to imagine that with fellow Zerg players like Effort, and that he's in pretty good shape, in a situation like this, to get himself in very solid playing position. So we'll have to see what they bring to us today on this quality and fine day for StarCraft, and we're going to see Medusa as the mat that's going to be used, and we have starting positions, it looks like, in the 6 o'clock and the 3 o'clock positions. It looks like we have, yep, we do have Savior starting as the orange Zerg, I believe that was, in the 6 o'clock position, and we have Kingdom in the 3 o'clock spawning as the Teal Protoss. So I'm very curious to see what these players are going to bring to us today. I believe that in all likelihood we will see some type of early aggression. It looks like that the Overlord is actually scouting in the appropriate direction for Savior, so he's in a good shape already in that respect. But I would not be surprised to see early aggression of some sort from these players, or at least from Savior. I would imagine that he, it doesn't really expect much from Kingdom in terms of a straight-up fight. So if he can just go ahead and take it to him as early as possible, that would make sense. It looks like Forge First Fast Expand coming from Kingdom, it looks like, by the pylon placement. And sending out a probe early, try and get some scouting information. Very standard opening from Kingdom. Very, I don't know. If you've seen some of my other commentaries, you know that I don't really feel that confident in Forge First Fast Expand anymore. I feel as though the metagame is shifting as far as Protoss versus Zerg, and I feel as though a lot of Zerg players are starting to really catch on to how to play against Forge First Fast Expand in the CRDT, which seems to be just what everybody wants to do at this point. And it looks like we're going to see 12 hatch to counter this. Either will he be able to put it down? The only question is whether or not he's going to be putting it down at the natural expansion, or if he's going to be putting out. There you go. He does get it down. So Savior's going to get that expansion down. Had the backup drone waiting for the mineral only expansion in the back of the base in the event that he did not get that down because of the probe player. But there, a nice old school pick of Kingdom, looking very young and sprightly. But that's using that information that he gets with his probe. Kingdom does go ahead and throw down his Nexus first before even erecting his forge or any cannons. So very, I would say, wisely played there. Very nice scouting by Kingdom. He didn't get as much harassment done as I'm sure he would have liked as far as the planning of that additional hatchery, but that's okay. Basically, he's getting the information that he needs at this point. And it looks like, if he does keep that probe alive, which it looks like he's going to, he'll be able to have more than enough information. It looks like this is going to be a double expand from Savior. So we have the Forge as well as the Gateway going down from Kingdom, and at this point Savior is also going to take his gas. So it looks like Savior is very interested in going ahead and macroing up in a very quick way. At the same time, he's securing himself an economic advantage by nullifying the Forge First Fast Expand, in my opinion, by taking additional bases as well. So that, obviously with Zerg, that's twofold in terms of what it accomplishes for him, and it's going to allow him to produce more units, obviously, but it's also going to allow him a strong economic advantage once he produces drones to be collecting resources from 3 different locations already on the map. So first lings are starting to pop up. The timing of Kingdom's cannon is perfect. He's going to have a cannon definitely in time to combat any type of ling aggression that Savior wants to inflict on him. So doubtful that honestly that Savior's going to go that route. I doubt he's going to send anything out in that direction. More than likely going to use these links for the purpose that you see them utilizing right now. He's trying to get this probe out before he switches up to whatever tech he's really ultimately going for. The lair is being researched or being developed currently. Cybernetics core is going down in Kingdom's base. So both these players would ideally like to be in a situation where they can get rid of the scout, or the early scout at least, before they start going in whatever direction on the tech tree that they wanted to. So we'll see. Again, it remains to be seen what's going to happen as far as what Savior is ultimately going for once this lair gives up. If he's going to go for Muta, he's going to go for a heavy air attack, or if he's going to go for some type of lurker tech, hydra tech. We will have to see at this point. And it looks like this probe is really on its last leg. It does go down, so now we can anticipate seeing what's going to happen for Savior in terms of his build, where the deviation is going to be, and it looks like Stargate and Still of the Dune. So Kingdom is certainly going with a CRDT build, I would have to imagine, which once again is just so predictable as far as Protoss versus Zerg at this point. And when you're a Zerg player of the caliber of Savior, I feel as though it's almost a kiss of death. And I do not know the results of this game. I have not seen these games yet. I am casting these as though they're live. So forgive me if if I seem like I'm spoiling this. I don't think that I am. But at the same time, I really can't help but feel that Savior has to know that this is what's coming. Has to anticipate the fact that this is the pretty much standard, the acceptable Protoss build to counter Zerg. And when you have a situation where there's just something that is so predictable, is coming. That's one of the worst things that you can do in StarCraft, in my opinion, is be predictable. You have to try and keep your opponent in the dark to the strongest extent that you can in order to be successful in this game, which is part of the reason why players like Boxer were so fantastically successful for so long. You have a player that's just so innovative and brings so much intelligence to the game, which is really what Boxer's strength was.